bird on a tree. I'm just sitting here. I got time. It's clear to see from up here. The world seems small. We can sit together. It's so beautiful, you and me. We meant to be.
Good morning, guys, and welcome to, I think, my third video. And today, it's been a week, which I'll sort of talk about in the video, but suffice to say, I've needed to do some fun things with my hair, with my makeup or something. So today I did something fun with my makeup. Yesterday I wore a wig that was pretty awesome. I'll link to my Instagram. I think I mentioned this in the video, but you can go check it out. So today, inspired by the Jaclyn Hill video on the new Morphe palette with James Charles. Obviously I don't have that palette yet. Probably won't get it just because it's not really my speed, but I used some of the palettes I already had to create this very like bright, almost sunset-y kind of color. And it's another sort of rambly video. I mostly talk about the things that are going on, things that are coming up, and hopefully next time I'll have a more coherent video because I had a great video filmed and then I promptly deleted it on accident because clearly I don't know how to use Google and Google Drive the right way on this phone. But that's neither here nor there. Whatever. It's gone. So now you get this one. Hopefully it's alright. It's a little bit on the longer end per usual, but we'll see how my editing skills are this time around. And yeah, so if you want to watch me put this all together and talk to you about really nothing, then go ahead and keep on watching. Good morning, guys. What is up? Let's see if I can film this one and upload it without accidentally deleting it. Say good morning to the dogs because anytime I start talking, they have to figure out what's going on. Alright, I think they're satisfied. So today, I saw Jaclyn Hill's video on this very like pinky, purpley kind of colored eye. But I am going to be mixing together a whole bunch of palettes to try to at least sort of recreate that look. It's going to be pretty bold, but I'm sort of feeling in a bold mood this week. It's sort of that time of the year, especially in academia, where you start to feel the slump, if you will. I know my students are feeling it. I can see it in class. I'm definitely feeling it. My grandmother's been in the hospital. Last week she had triple bypass surgery and she's been recovering from that pretty well, at least for a woman in her early 70s. But one complication that she's having recently is that her kidneys aren't functioning properly. Her creatinine levels in her blood are about 4 times higher than what they should be for a woman of her size. And so they're monitoring her right now. They won't know for a few more days whether or not they want to put her on dialysis or not, just because they're kind of hoping the levels will go down on their own and that this is really just connected to the surgery. So fingers crossed, but it does have me a little distracted. I also have tons of impending deadlines which are coming up, and I just feel like I don't have enough time or emotional energy to do all the things that I need to do. So normally when I do my makeup, I start with my face. It's just how I do it. But because I'm doing such a bold eye look and I don't know how much fallout there's going to be between these different palettes, I'm going to go ahead and do my eyes first just to see how this goes. And for me, I don't really have an eyeshadow primer itself that I like. I do have an eyeshadow primer that works pretty well, but it's clear. And for things like this, I really like to have a really thick base to put my eyeshadow on and also to cover up some of the imperfections on my lid, like veins and stuff. So I tend to just use a concealer. And depending on how bright you want your eye look, some people set their eye primer with a translucent powder. I'm not going to do that today just because I want to see how bright I can get this shit. We'll see what happens. I'm not going to talk you through what I'm doing as I'm doing it just to keep things moving, but If you do want like an actual tutorial on this, you probably should just go look at Jaclyn Hill's video. She's much better at this than I am. So I'm gonna start. I'm gonna try this NYX Ultimate palette. I like NYX because it's relatively affordable. Oh, how are things going? What are you working on? In my last video that got deleted before I could even upload it because I'm an idiot when it comes to Google, apparently. I have a book chapter due next week, which is about global alcohol consumption between 1750 and 1850. And the thing is, like, I'm pretty well set when it comes to Europe, particularly Western Europe, I should say, North America, in the US, kind of Canada context, and parts of the Caribbean and Latin America, as far as knowing what sources are out there, knowing what historiography already exists on alcohol consumption in those areas. So, you know, I feel pretty good about that. My problem is that I am far less comfortable with the historiography that may exist in various parts of Asia, especially East Asia, so China, Japan, Korea. Also, far less comfortable with the historiography that exists on Russia and Africa. And the problem that I'm running into right now, while I've been trying to put together this historiographical sort of broad overview, is that a lot of what seems to be written about these areas that I'm less familiar with tends to be either from the ancient era or from a more modern era. So not the 1750 to 1850 area that I need. So that's kind of a bummer, a problem. And part of what I found for China and Japan especially are not English language, which, you know, rightfully so. But that means that I'm relying on other scholars who have read those works to sort of help clue me in to what they might be saying about that particular time period. And so I'm not feeling very confident. And anytime this happens, well, anytime I try to write anything, even when it was my dissertation, even turning my dissertation into a book manuscript, that imposter syndrome is like on full blast. Especially right now. I'm just not feeling very confident overall in a lot of ways. Alright, so this looks pretty crazy right now. Trust me, I am well aware of this. But fingers crossed I can make it work. It's not going to look anything like Jaclyn Hill, I can almost guarantee you that. It's going to be like a totally different world. Alright, so I'm also going to go in with the Sephora Pro palette because it has a very, very bright pink color to maybe help define this a little bit more. I want this to be less muted and more like very bright. We're going to totally contradict that it's fall right now. So I have the pink sort of laid down. We'll see what happens. It's either going to look awesome or terrible, and I never know until the end. So is anybody else ready for Christmas? Because I am ready for Christmas. I am dying for the Christmas, just everything. Christmas everything. I'm just kind of all over the place today, although that's not necessarily any different than most days, so forgive me that. But I was just thinking, talking with my students, this is also sort of the period where mental health tends to take a dive, and I'm definitely feeling that. To be honest, I don't even know what I'm talking about today, but we're just going with it. So we're reaching that point in the semester. Hello, dogs. We're reaching the point in the semester where students are preparing for their final projects and final papers and final exams, and they're all incredibly distracted, incredibly overwhelmed, and I'm trying to figure out ways to sort of keep their attention during class, and I'm finding that really difficult right now. And I mean, I keep telling myself it's not me per se. It's just, this is what happens at this point in the semester, and just trying to remind myself that it's okay, it's normal, it's not anything I'm doing wrong. And so I've been focusing less on trying to do any sort of lecture style stuff right now, but we are doing a lot of primary source work, and I think that seems to be working pretty well overall. So this week we are in what's called the Cotton Kingdom chapter of the American e.l.f. If you've been following me around on social media a lot, then you'll know I love to use the American e.l.f. because it is free, it is easily accessible, it's constantly being updated, which is useful. And so this week they're learning about the impact of cotton on the American economy and what that meant for the expansion of slavery during this era. So today they're reading the supposed confession of Nat Turner to this white lawyer, trying to dissect, first of all, what might be wrong with this account, how factual it may or may not be, but also they're looking at this versus the perspective of George Fitzhugh, who promoted slavery as a positive good, so not just as a necessary evil, which had long sort of been the pro-slavery standpoint, but that this was necessary and good for the economy, for people, for the enslaved themselves. And of course it's a pretty ridiculous assertion, at least by modern standards, however recent events politically. And of course the students read this and they're coming at it from a perspective of where, oh, I mean, this political cartoon in connection with Fitzhugh's premise, it was so absurd. We couldn't possibly think of anything like this today. Like, this doesn't make any sense. And then when you bring in current events and you bring in the current political talking points, which we're not going with today, but when we bring that in with the students, they start to understand a little bit better how this really operated in practice. So I'm really excited to see how that plays out this week. The more that they work with primary sources, the more comfortable they're becoming, which is important since primary sources are one of the main pieces of their final project. They just need to hang on a little bit longer, and I'm just going to go ahead and clean up some of this while And then yesterday, found out that there was a recall on my husband's car, which thankfully I was taking it in for service yesterday. So, you know, it's being dealt with, but that just means that after sitting in the dealership service space for roughly 2 hours, I found out, well, actually we need to give you a loaner car. So there's that. And I was like, ah, that would have been really helpful to know before now. And so when I got home yesterday, I was just like, ugh, I need to write, I need to work, but I just have no desire to do anything. So I didn't do anything. Instead, sat on my couch with my puppies, ate Chinese food, and just went to bed early. Went to bed early. And I even practiced what I preached to my students this week, dealing with the stuff with my grandmother especially. I had to take a day off. I had to take a day where because I knew I wasn't going to be any good to them in front of the classroom if I was feeling the way that I was feeling. And I have some of the best students. They've all been emailing and checking in and making sure that not only is my grandmother okay, but I'm okay. And so I'm just ready for a break. As I'm sure most people are by this point. It's a bit much right now, you know? A bit much. It's sort of coming together. Alright, so I'm going to do the rest of my face before I move on to cleaning some of this up, doing the lower lash line stuff. So I've been trying out a couple of new primers, both from CoverFX because Sephora had a bit of a sale. Today I'm going to use the Calming Primer. This primer is supposed to help reduce redness and soothe highly sensitive and irritated skin. What I love is that it's safe for people with rosacea, because I have rosacea. It has Defensil Plus. I have to use it a little bit longer to see if it actually has any effect whatsoever on my face, but it smells interesting. It's got almost like that sort of oatmeal-y smell to it, much more of a chemically oatmeal. But I don't know if you ever had chicken pox as a kid. I had it twice. Both times I had it quite badly. So bad, in fact, it was in my mouth and all over my body, which is apparently not what's supposed to happen. But anyway, it reminds me a little bit of those oatmeal baths, but in a much more chemical-y way. But it feels pretty good when you put it on. Today is going to be a pretty long day, unfortunately. I have 2 classes to teach today. I have a major deadline next week. Also, 3 of my 4 classes are turning in their second primary source analyses, which means I've got grading to do. I don't know how I'm going to get it all done in the amount of time that I have. But you know what? That's okay. Keri and I have gotten the outline to our chapter on the pedagogy of Harry Potter, looking at mentorship, particularly from the first generation standpoint. And I think what we've decided to do is to tackle this not just from a Muggle-born as first-gen perspective, because really the only example you get throughout the books that would be applicable would be Hermione. But looking at people like Harry and Neville in particular as a version of first-gen, because they grow up, despite the fact that at least one of their parents is magical, they grow up not knowing their parents, and so not having them to help them navigate the wizarding world. It was such a weird process because it's like when it all is done, it looks, or it can look so good, but like as you're doing it, you just look like a crazy person. And right now, I sort of look like a ghost. It's very weird, but I should probably get some eyebrows on at some point. But we have the outline done. We just really need to sit down and get the outline turned into written pieces, but I'm not too worried about that one, honestly. And I'm really excited to see how that goes. I mean, we get a chance to revise it before it fully goes to publication. But Keri's a brilliant writer, and I know that she'll help me out quite a bit when it comes to making it all transition seamlessly and sound good, because she is absolutely brilliant. the trick is just really, I need to just sit down and get shit done, which is a lot easier said than done. And I have so much that I need to read in addition to writing, and I have some colleagues on Twitter, I'll link them below because they are phenomenal. And right now one of the things that we're working on is trying to put together a sort of reading group almost on effective teaching methods. And so all these different books that are out there about teaching and reaching students, particularly at the undergraduate level. And what we're planning to do, if I'm not mistaken, is we're creating an Excel sheet with the books that we're interested in sort of reviewing, and then we're not really going to be writing reviews in a traditional sense. What we're going to do is we're going to do like Twitter reviews with the hashtag PhD skills, and that way we sort of help each other out to digest the big chunks of all of this writing, because each of us are sort of struggling with the same thing, and that is we want to be effective educators. And the question is, how do you do that when you're trying to juggle so many different things? Teaching, researching, writing, advising, family life. I mean, how do you balance it all, especially when you're still a grad student and you have precarious employment and low incomes, and some students have to work more than just one job while they're doing their PhD. So I'm really excited to see where this current Twitter thing takes us. And then my colleague Naomi and I are working together. Both of us are teaching a women's history class in the spring, and so we are collaborating on a Google Doc just to try to help each other out and get ideas for how we might structure our course, what types of readings we might do. And I find this really helpful, especially because I haven't taught a women's history class before. I took one as an undergrad, but that was many years ago. And yeah, so I think this is going to be really exciting. So she and I are going to read a book that just came out, I think it just came out, called Good and Mad, and see if that's something that can be useful and effective for our course. And it's nice to have somebody to chat with about the books that I'm reading, because that is the one thing I miss about grad school. Not the classes where everybody sort of pretended that they had read the book and then they BS their way through it, but the actual like colleagues that I had that I would sit with outside of class and we would just talk about books that we'd been reading. I miss that aspect, and I have really amazing colleagues in my department, but they don't need to keep up with sort of the latest book, and so I feel like I just haven't had anybody to chat with. I mean, I could sort of talk at my husband and he would understand what I was talking about because he's brilliant, but I don't know that it would be as effective as having somebody who had also read it and could talk back with me. I've reached that point in the semester where I feel like I'm sort of just losing my mind, and I just, like right now, I'm just talking all over the place. I'm probably repeating myself. I've probably talked about this in the first video that I did, but I haven't gone back to rewatch myself because I feel like that's a little weird. So whenever I get like this, I sort of go all over the place. And yesterday, so recently I started to check out lace front wigs just for something fun. My hair is naturally pretty fine, and especially doing the teaching and all this stuff, like I already take enough time with my makeup. I don't have the time to dedicate yet another like hour to really doing anything with my hair, and so my hair ends up being like far less attractive in comparison to my my makeup. And so I was like, wigs could be a really easy way of dealing with that. And so I checked out Bellamy Hair because I've seen a lot of good things about them, and got a couple of lace front wigs, and I wore one of them yesterday, and I'll link to my Instagram below and you can check it out. I absolutely loved it. It was so fun. So I will probably get more wigs just to keep the fun alive. Nobody said anything to me. I mean, I had a few students who said they really liked it, thought it was really pretty, so at least there was that. Nobody said it looked terrible, so I'll take that as a win. But I'm sure they definitely thought I was a bit crazy. They were probably wondering why I was wearing a wig. But I was like, you know what? I need something fun. Again, to give you an indication of my energy levels. I also hadn't washed my hair. I mean, I had showered, but I had not washed my hair in probably a week. And for someone who has really fine hair that gets really greasy really easily, it was not a good look. There's only so many times you can put it up into this braided updo before people start to notice that this is not good. And so I was like, you know what? I got a wig. Let's go with it. And so I did. And it was a ton of fun. Alright, so now that I have the lower lash line done, you know what? I don't know how I'm feeling about this right now, but I'm committed at this point. And I've decided today that if I get my Acrymo goal, word goal done today, that I'm going to take some time this evening to start reading one of the many wonderful academic books that I've picked up recently. And I think what I'm going to do is start with what I said in my last video, I'm pretty sure I said, and that's Kerry Merritt's Masterless Men. And so maybe I'll do a live tweet of the book while I'm working on it, like working my way through it. And then the next video that I do, which will probably not be for a couple weeks, just until I get these deadlines done. But what I'll probably do is then talk about it in my next video and see how that goes. So in the midst of all this academic stuff, I've started my Christmas shopping. To be fair, I started my Christmas shopping probably a week or two ago, and I'm really excited because I mean, I love spoiling the crap out of my husband because he works so hard and he almost never does anything for himself. And so this is my chance to be able to sort of do that and make him take care of himself and do fun things. And so I think I'm winning Christmas this year. We almost sort of compete. And I know. Christmas is not about material things, and it's just about the people you love. But that's the thing, like, this is something that we love to do for each other. We love to spoil each other, and we love to take care of each other. And, you know, because we're not able to have children, this is something that we do for each other. And it's just really nice to be able to do that for him. And so fingers crossed that everything arrives when it's supposed to, and that he loves everything I've gotten him. Do you see this? Do you see this? This is what I deal with whenever I try to work from home. They are monsters. So while they do their thing, I am going to go off camera to line my eyes and put on my lashes before I come back and finish the rest of my face and sort of talk to you about what's coming up in life for me, and we'll see what happens. Alright, so lashes are on. The reason I don't film that is because I'm terrible at applying lashes. I'm also terrible at eyeliner, but surprisingly today, aside from cutting this one a little short, I actually didn't have any trouble, so clearly I just needed the pressure. But I used the Ardell Studio Effects, and eye look this bold requires something mega as far as lashes go. But while I was putting my lashes on, thinking of things to talk about and things that I should say, I thought about something that people have been asking me recently, and that was how I think about my goals and how I sort of organize myself. And I left my day planner downstairs, so I'm not gonna run and go get that. But right now I have the Erin Condren blank day planner, and what I do is I fill that out so that I can do it by the academic year, since that's sort of how I operate. Something that I recently picked up, and I was very fortunate because she is incredibly popular, and that is Rachel Hollis. Her and her husband launched the Hollis Company. Rachel's a motivational speaker. She is a published author, and recently she's been working on books that are motivational in nature as well. And I Girl Wash Your Face, and I'm almost done with that, so maybe that's something else I can talk about. I absolutely love it so far. I actually loved reading it so much that I also started listening to it in the car. And she has another book coming out, Girl Stop Apologizing, which I have pre-ordered and I cannot wait for it to arrive. I think it's supposed to come in April-ish. But one of the things that she does every morning is she lists out things that she's grateful for, and she puts her goals into words. And this really spoke to me because of the other thing that I'm going to talk about. And no, this is not sponsored in any way, shape, or form. Although, Rachel, if you'd like to work with me, I am dying to work with you. But I was fortunate to get my hands on one of the first iterations of her Start Today journals. There were a lot of people who were really upset because they couldn't get one of these, but there were only like 3,000 of these made or something like that. It was something really small because she's seen phenomenal growth in her fan base in the last, I would say, year or so. And so she has to be cautious about how much she orders of something. Anyways, you will not be able to get this one, but they are coming out with all new cover designs. They're planning on making a ton more of these, so if you're interested, you should go check her out. But I just got mine, and it is the Start Today journal, starting your day with gratitude and intentional goal setting. You walk through where you want to be in 10 years, and you just fill out these blank pages about that, and then you list your dreams, you brainstorm things that can help make your goals, your vision a reality. And what she says is, you write your goals as if they've already happened. And so each time you get a new page, you write down 10 dreams I made happen. Even if they haven't happened yet, that's what you put down. The point is you write them as if you've already accomplished them, because it really sort of pushes you forward, and that your goals should be measurable. And while these are probably not specific to academic goals, that's sort of how I use them, but also personal goals. And so I highly recommend checking this out. I've just started mine, so I have some work left to do, but I feel like it complements one of my all-time favorite goal-setting guides ever. And I've been following the Cultivate What Matters team for a few years now, so I've been using this particular product for a few years. And you can ask my friends, I rave about it all the time, but Lara Casey and her team have put together these Cultivate What Matters power sheets. And you can get them in blank 6-month. You can get them, I always get them in the year design. So it comes with tabs and stuff here. And basically it is very similar in that you list your goals, you create action plans, you have refreshers every season to see what you've accomplished, what maybe needs to be tweaked. And what I love is that it's just a place to brain dump. One of the things that I love that they've now done is they've made the pages for your tending list perforated, and they give you washi tape so that you can put it back in when you're done. That way you can place this where you are the most. But you give yourself encouraging words, you list your top priority, and then you have action items that are supposed to help you achieve your bigger goals. So you have monthly action items, things that are maybe something you accomplish over the course of the month, weekly action items, so things you do every week to work towards your goals, and then daily action items or habits. And then you review the month. And so I just got my 2019 set, so in January I will get to start using this particular set. Last year I tried having 2 sets, one for personal goals, one for academic goals, but I decided that was not actually working for me, and so I went back to just having the one like I've done in the past. And this year they also have these wildcard pages, and I went ahead, I just ordered the yearly bundle, so mine came with wildcard pages, it came with the year set, it came with a little pouch to put like the washi tape, markers, whatever you want to in it, and a sticker sheet book because I love stickers. And you can also download wildcard pages on the Cultivate website, but these can go on some of the blank pages that they have, and they have all different kinds of things. You get calendars, you get, this set comes also with financial check-ins, which would be huge for me because that's one of the goals that we have this year. We've paid off most of our debts before, and then life happens and we sort of built it back up. So we want to get that back down. Organization and decluttering, relationship tending, because that's also something really important to me. I tend to get so overwhelmed with work and teaching and stuff going on at home that I don't tend to my relationships as well as I should. I can say that I have done a great job, at least I think. I should probably ask my husband this, but I think I've done a great job tending to our relationship, but I want to tend better to my friendships, to my relationship with my parents. Yeah, so I wanted to just mention these. I will link to them below. Like I said, the Start Today journals are getting ready to be re-released. You'll need to sign up at the website to be notified of when these come in stock. But the power sheets are already on sale. I don't know what their stock looks like as far as which cover designs are left, because they have a yellow cover, teal cover, pink cover, and then this is the multicolor, because your bitch can't just choose one color. I want to do all the colors. But Lara is such a motivational person. I actually had the opportunity to go last spring to their biannual Make Things Happen conference, and it was one of the most life-changing things. And I say that, and it sounds kind of crazy, right? That, oh, this was such a life-changing experience. But I got there, and one of the things that Lara says all the time is, you know, all the things you've always wanted to do, you should go do them. And I went there intending at this conference to work through professional goals, maybe a few personal goals. And I think for a long time, I've defined myself by benchmarks. So I defined myself by going to college. I defined myself by finishing my PhD. I defined myself by getting a job in academia. I defined myself as, you know, getting married, and then the next step was having children. And when that wasn't happening, I, you know, had to rethink what that all meant. So yeah, that one a little weird, that one a little personal, but just know that I think those products are wonderful. Yes, they're a little feminine, at least the power sheets are a little bit feminine looking, but fear not. They're also equally useful for the men's out there. I just find the actual activities and pieces within them to be very useful. And the thing is, Lara also says, and so does Rachel, that you don't need these things to make your goals happen. And I'm happy to talk with anybody who has goals that they want to achieve and they're just not sure where to start, because that is one of my favorite things, is goal setting. Once I start to put my goals into words and break down like actually how I can achieve them, then I find like, holy crap, this is actually doable. Because for so long my goals were just in my head and they were dreams as opposed to goals. They were things that like, oh, I would really, really love it if this happened, but I wasn't necessarily doing anything to make some of those goals happen. And part of that is the bipolar disorder. It can be really difficult sometimes to get myself motivated, to get myself working. I mean, like last night, I had a headache, which is only a minimal excuse, but I have this looming deadline and I needed to work. I should have been working. And I know, academics, we need to stop with the should have, but I should have been working because I need to get this done. And I couldn't do it. I could not motivate myself to do it. And you know what? That's okay. That is okay, because sometimes shit happens and you just have to go with what you can do. But once I started to think about my goals as achievable and as manageable and as something that I could actually accomplish by breaking it down, each goal down into small chunks, small actionable steps that I could take. And, you know, I like the way that the Cultivate What Matters teams breaks this down into, and that are things you can do each day, things you can do each week, and things you can do each month. Because once you start to break it down that way, I think it becomes a little bit easier to see this as achievable, especially for those of us who struggle with imposter syndrome. And it also helps me to get better at thinking about my time management, because that is something else that I need to work on a bit. You know what? Let's get a little crazy. I have so much pink and yellow and orange going on. Let's go with teal in the waterline. Pretty sure Jacqueline went in with yellow, but I don't own yellow eyeliner, so we're just gonna work with what we have. All right, and today, because I have such a bold eye, definitely need to go with a more nude lip. I'm gonna try this Stila All Day Liquid Lipstick in the shade Caramello. I got this in a bundle of nude lipsticks from Sephora, so. It's so easy for me to take care of everybody else. When it comes to taking care of myself, I just am like, you know what? Maybe later. Alright, so I'm gonna highlight my brow bone real quick. This took way longer than I thought it would. Doesn't it always? And I have so much writing to do before class. So this is the finished look. I'm going to put some setting spray on after I get done filming, because as soon as I pull it out of the stand here, my camera's going to fall because it's my cell phone on a selfie stick. But yeah, I'm going to go do that, fix my hair up, and then I will film my outro and probably my intro. I will get better at this eventually. Yeah. And that's it for today, guys. I want to thank you for being here and for supporting me continuously, even though clearly, again, I'm not a general YouTuber, so my uploads are few and far between right now. But I really appreciate you sticking around and hanging out with me. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Hit the notification bell if you're so inclined, if you want to see more ridiculous rambly things. Maybe next time I'll actually have a video to talk about books or things that are academically related. But yeah, I am now going to go get more coffee and get ready to go teach for the day. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.